widely credited as being part of Bangladesh's revolution. He's also author of a new book, Fulk Umari. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first of all, thanks very much for coming and talking to us on the programme. Just remind us, first of all, why the student protest broke out. What drove them, if you like, last year?
Well, there had been a fascist regime for the last 16 years, and there was no election, and all the institutions were systematically broken, and well, there was a serious, to remain in power, she resorted to violence and serious human rights violation, and there had been more than several thousands of people who were killed extrajudicially, and there had been secret prisons, and initially we thought that there was one, and eventually it was discovered that there are several hundreds, 700 to 800, a very pessimistic estimate. So there had been a struggle for freedom and struggle for democracy.
So their report that I mentioned from the UN talked about potential crimes against humanity even.
Yes.
I suppose it didn't surprise you at all.
Yeah, true, because I'm also a human rights activist, and I used to document cases of enforced disappearance, and I used to work with several human rights organizations. So we know that there had been serious violations of human rights, and well, the situation that we see in the report, UN report, it's a part, and deep inside, there are many which are yet to be explored,
The country is now being run by Mohammed Yunus on a temporary basis. I mean, does that mean all is well?
Well, there are challenges, of course. There are challenges, and what I said, that during the last 16 years, all the institutes, state institutes, were systematically destroyed, be it judiciary, election commission, administration, police, even army. So there are challenges, Everywhere they put their people, and their people means they had their party as well, but they tried to incorporate their people within the administration, within the police, within the army. So, it's a very serious kind of collusion, and the state was not functioning, actually.
So what's needed now? Elections, presumably?
Pardon?
What is needed now? Elections, presumably,
well,
in slightly longer term.
The first thing, it was a fascism. Textbook example of fascism. So, what is needed first? You had that idea, you fought against fascism, and the first thing you did is restructuring, that restructuring the state and try to build the state machineries and state institution, then go for a new election. So, what I believe that, that the constitution that was in place failed to protect the nation from this fascist ruler. So that constitution has to be changed first. And, we say that, the revolutionaries say that it's a second republic. So we have to create that second republic before going to election.
Let's talk about you as well. I mean,
okay.
Your YouTube channel. Tell us about it and what you do and how you do it.
Well, I was a writer, and I used to write in blogs, and then I shifted my focus to Facebook. But, since 2010, I was active in Facebook, and I started gradually writing on several social issues, human rights issues. But, Facebook has got some limitations, and they have very strict content restriction, and it's extremely difficult to continue an activism that we do on this platform. And I used to face frequent bans and removal of my contents. And we had been fighting a fascist regime, and the images that I share, that I want to share, sometimes they say that it violates the community guidelines, and it has been removed. So what I discovered that, probably this is not the right place to continue this activism. So then I shifted to YouTube, and it became the primary platform for communication for my message and my activism.
And I mentioned it, 3 million viewers.
More than
huge,
3 million, yes.
Well, what about your critics? I mean, there are critics, aren't there, who say it's very populist, it's a bit over the top.
The thing is that, the personality that I project on YouTube, it's a bit different than what I am really. So it's a created personality. So since I'm a writer, I am a storyteller. I tell stories in my YouTube channel. The stories that should evoke some emotion, and I provide some purpose. So that's the three magic recipe of my episodes. The first thing is that the personality that I created, it resonates with the common people's aspiration. I use a very strong provincial accent, which people can connect very easily, and I do have a target audience. I do activism for the poor people. And I align myself with the people who don't have. So that's how it becomes so popular, because, every time, always, it's have-nots have the absolute majority.
Yeah. Let's talk about your book as well, Fulk Omari. It's the tale of a refugee and a rat in pandemic Paris, and it tells the story of that refugee from Bangladesh who finds himself alone in his apartment with this tiny rat, and he tells it, doesn't it? Tales of his past, of revolution, famine, war, as well as culture.
Yes. So, the story started from the very first day of lockdown, COVID lockdown. And I was alone in my apartment. And, for everybody, COVID was a special time. But for me, I had another layer of confinement and isolation, because I'm a refugee and I'm already uprooted from my homeland, and I'm trying to integrate myself to a new society which I barely know. And that's the period where another layer of restriction was imposed due to COVID. So that led me to a self-reflection, and self-reflection took a path of a mythical journey with a rat that was entrapped in my apartment during that period. So I considered that rat as a superior being, reminiscent of the Arabian Nights, and she will decide whether I'll survive next morning based on the story that I'll be telling to her. So I started telling her stories, my stories, starting from childhood. So my story is not only my story, it's the story of my country, my people. And that's how I tried to uncover some deep sorrows of my nation. I believe that, unless we have a deep sorrow that resonates everyone's aspiration, we don't challenge the way we live. So I tried to uncover the deep sorrow through this journey with this rat during this COVID period. So that was the primary objective of my book. And everyone said that, while reading this book, they sensed a deep melancholy, that melancholy is universal, that could connect with every people. And I also tried to uncover some issues to open a conversation with the world that what we have, our nation, our culture, our history has to offer to the world to resolve their challenges they're facing today.
Good to talk to you on the programme. Good to hear your creativity as well through the YouTube channel, through the book as well. Pinake Bhattacharya, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us here on France 24.